You've heard the saying before, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And if you've lived any amount of life, you know exactly why this resonates so deeply, because every single one of us has made plans that didn't work out. We've charted courses that led nowhere. We've set goals that crumbled. We've mapped out our lives with such precision, only to watch everything unfold completely differently. And here's the beautiful, frustrating, absolutely redemptive truth. God's plans are always better than ours. Always. Even when we can't see it. Even when it hurts. Even when we're convinced we knew exactly what we needed and He took it in a completely different direction. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to explore what it really means to make plans in a world where God is sovereign. How do we dream, set goals, and work toward the future while holding everything with open hands? How do we plan wisely without gripping so tightly that we miss what God is actually doing? And how do we trust that when our plans fall apart, something far better is being built in their place? The truth is, God isn't mocking us when our plans don't work out. He's not up in heaven laughing at our expense, enjoying our disappointment. No, the laughter in that saying isn't cruel. It's the tender amusement of a loving father who sees his children trying so hard to control outcomes they were never meant to control in the first place. It's the gentle smile of someone who knows the ending of the story and watches us stress about chapters that are already written. Think about it. When a toddler announces their elaborate plan to build a rocket ship out of cardboard boxes and fly to the moon, you don't laugh to belittle them. You smile because you love their imagination, their determination, their sweet belief that they can do anything. But you also know something they don't. You know about gravity, about engineering, about reality. Your smile isn't condescension. It's affection mixed with knowledge. That's closer to how God responds to our plans. He delights in our dreams. He loves our ambition. He celebrates our desire to build something meaningful with our lives. But He also sees what we can't see. He knows which doors will lead to dead ends. He knows which successes would actually destroy us. He knows which detours are actually the main road to our destiny. Proverbs 16:9 says it plainly, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Notice it doesn't say, "Don't plan." It says plan, but know that God is directing the actual steps. We're supposed to use our minds, our creativity, our strategic thinking. We're supposed to set goals and work hard. But we're also supposed to hold those plans loosely enough that when God redirects, we can pivot without shattering. And here's what most of us struggle with. We don't just make plans, we build our entire identity around them. We don't just set goals, we stake our worth on achieving them. We don't just dream about the future, we convince ourselves that we'll only be happy, fulfilled, successful, or valuable if that specific future comes to pass. And then, when God disrupts those plans, we don't just experience disappointment. We experience an identity crisis. Let me tell you what planning without surrender looks like. It's the person who decides exactly who they're going to marry, when they're going to meet them, what their relationship will look like, and then becomes bitter when God writes a different love story. It's the entrepreneur who builds their entire business plan with such rigidity that when the market shifts or doors close or unexpected opportunities arise, they can't adapt because they're too invested in their original vision. It's the parent who decides exactly how their child's life will unfold, what sports they'll play, what college they'll attend, what career they'll pursue, and then feels like a failure when their child chooses a different path. It's the graduate who plans out their entire career trajectory and then falls into despair when the first job doesn't work out, or the promotion doesn't come, or the industry changes. Planning without surrender is exhausting. It's constantly pushing against doors that won't open while missing the doors that are swinging wide. It's white-knuckling our way through life, trying to force outcomes, manipulate circumstances, and control variables that were never meant to be under our control. But here's the other extreme that's equally dangerous, not planning at all. Some people hear God's in control and decide that means they should just drift through life waiting for Him to drop opportunities in their lap. They confuse faith with passivity. They mistake surrender for laziness. They claim to be trusting God while refusing to do the work, make the decisions, or take the steps right in front of them. That's not faith. That's presumption. God gives us brains, creativity, wisdom, and discernment for a reason. He expects us to use them. He wants us to dream, strategize, plan, and work. The difference is we do all of that while staying surrendered to His ultimate authority, flexible to His redirection, and trusting in His better wisdom. Think about Joseph in the Bible. Do you think he planned to be sold into slavery by his brothers, to be falsely accused and thrown into prison, to spend years in captivity? Absolutely not. But do you think he just sat in that prison cell doing nothing, waiting for God to supernaturally deliver him? No. He worked hard wherever he was. He managed Potiphar's house with excellence. He served in prison with integrity. He interpreted dreams when the opportunity arose. He planned, worked, and used his gifts, while God orchestrated the bigger story Joseph couldn't see. Or look at Paul. He made plans constantly. I plan to visit you on my way to Spain. I intend to winter with you. I hope to see you soon. He was strategic, intentional, forward-thinking, but he always added, if the Lord permits. He planned fully while surrendering completely. So how do we do this practically? How do we plan without gripping? How do we dream without demanding? How do we set goals while staying surrendered? First, plan with your hands open. Make your goals, write your vision, chart your course, but hold everything loosely enough that when God says, not that way, or not yet, or I have something better, you can release it without feeling like your entire world is collapsing. Your plan is a map, not a cage. It guides you, but it doesn't limit God. Second, check your motivation. Are you planning because you want to be a good steward of your time, gifts, and opportunities? Or are you planning because you're trying to earn your worth, prove your value, or establish your identity through achievement? One leads to healthy ambition. The other leads to exhausting striving and inevitable disappointment. Third, invite God into the planning process. Don't make your plans and then ask God to bless them. Don't chart your course and then pray He'll make it work. Instead, pray before you plan. Ask for His wisdom as you're thinking through options. Seek His direction as you're setting goals. Make Him a partner in the process, not an afterthought. Fourth, build in flexibility. Don't make your plan so rigid that there's no room for God to move. Leave margin for unexpected opportunities. Stay open to doors you weren't looking for. Be willing to adjust, pivot, or completely change direction when the signs are clear that God is redirecting you. Fifth, measure success differently. Don't evaluate your life solely by whether your plans worked out. Instead, ask, did I stay faithful to God in the process? Did I grow closer to Him through this season? Did I become more like Jesus regardless of the outcome? Am I more trusting, more surrendered, more dependent on Him than I was before? That's success in God's economy, even if by the world's standards your plan failed. Sixth, pay attention to closed doors. When a door slams shut despite your best efforts, don't assume you just need to try harder or pray harder or wait longer. Sometimes God closes doors firmly and permanently because He's protecting you from something or redirecting you towards something better. A closed door isn't always an obstacle to overcome. Sometimes it's God's clear no or not this way. And seventh, celebrate the detours. Looking back, you'll often see that your greatest blessings came from plans that fell apart. The job you didn't get led you to the job where you met your spouse. The city you didn't move to meant you were exactly where you needed to be when that opportunity arose. The relationship that ended made room for the right one. The failure that devastated you taught you what success never could. Here's what I've learned in my own life. Every single time God disrupted my plans, He was doing something better than I could have imagined. Every single time. Not that it felt better in the moment, not that I could see it while it was happening, but looking back, I can trace the thread of His goodness through every detour, every disappointment, every door that closed in my face. The career I was certain I wanted would have left me miserable. The relationship I was convinced was the one would have been a disaster. The city I planned to move to would have taken me away from the very people and opportunities God had prepared for me. The timeline I had mapped out would have meant I missed the exact right timing moments that changed everything. God wasn't being cruel when He disrupted those plans. He was being kind. He wasn't withholding good things. He was protecting me from wrong things and positioning me for better things. Now let's talk about what happens when your plans do work out. Because sometimes they do, right? Sometimes you set a goal and you hit it. You make a plan and it unfolds exactly as you envisioned. You chart a course and you arrive at the destination you aimed for. When this happens, there's a temptation to think, see, I knew exactly what I needed. I planned it perfectly. I made it happen. And that's when we need to remember, even when our plans succeed, it's still God orchestrating the outcome. We don't succeed because we're such great planners. We succeed because God, in His sovereignty, chose to align our plans with His purposes in that moment. Give Him the credit. Thank Him for the outcome. Acknowledge that every good gift comes from Him, including the achievement of goals you worked hard for. Your hard work matters. Your planning matters. But ultimately, it's His blessing that brings success. And here's another truth. Sometimes God lets our plans succeed specifically to teach us that success isn't what we thought it would be. Sometimes we achieve the goal and realize the goal wasn't actually what we needed. We get the promotion and realize it's not fulfilling. We reach the milestone and feel empty. We arrive at the destination and wonder why we're not satisfied. God lets us have what we think we want to show us what we actually need. More of Him. Let's talk about the hardest part of all this. What do you do when God's disruption of your plans is genuinely painful? When it's not just a minor disappointment, but a devastating loss? When the plan that fell apart was something deeply important to you, something you prayed for, something you believed God Himself had put in your heart? Maybe it was the baby you desperately wanted but couldn't have, the marriage you fought for that still ended, the business you poured everything into that failed, the dream you chased faithfully that never materialized. The person you loved who died too young, the call you were certain of that never came to fruition. How do you trust God's better plan when His plan feels worse than yours? How do you believe He's good when goodness feels absent? How do you surrender when surrender feels like giving up on something precious? I won't pretend this is easy. I won't give you platitudes that minimize your pain. But I will tell you this: God can handle your anger, your questions, your disappointment. You don't have to pretend to be okay with outcomes that break your heart. You don't have to fake joy when you're grieving. God is big enough for your honest pain. But even in the honest pain, you can choose to trust, not because you understand, but because you know who He is. You know He's good even when life isn't. You know He's faithful even when circumstances are cruel. You know He sees what you can't see and knows what you don't know. Romans 8:28 doesn't say all things are good. It says, God works all things together for good. There's a difference. The thing that happened might be terrible. The plan that fell apart might be genuinely heartbreaking. But God specializes in taking terrible things and weaving them into something redemptive. He's a master at bringing beauty from ashes, purpose from pain, strength from suffering. You might not see it for years. You might not see it in this lifetime, but God wastes nothing. Every disappointment, every detour, every disrupted plan, He's using it. He's weaving it into a story bigger than you can see. He's building something with the broken pieces of your plans. And sometimes, hear me on this, sometimes God disrupts our plans simply to draw us closer to Him. Because as long as our plans are working out, as long as we feel in control, as long as life is going according to our script, we tend to forget how desperately we need Him. We start to think we've got this. We start to trust in our own wisdom, our own strength, our own ability to make life work. But when our plans crumble, when our carefully constructed future falls apart, when we're standing in the rubble of what we thought our life would be, that's when we realize we need God more than we need our plans. That's when we stop trying to use Him as a means to our ends and start seeking Him as the end Himself. That's when our relationship with Him deepens in ways it never could when everything was going smoothly. Maybe the plan falling apart wasn't about the plan at all. Maybe it was about God removing everything you were trusting in more than Him so that He could become your everything. Maybe He loved you too much to let you build your life on anything less solid than Him. So, what does this mean for how you live today? Right now, with plans you've already made, dreams you're currently chasing, goals you're working toward, it means hold them loosely, dream big, Plan well, work hard, but keep your hands open. Don't grip so tightly that God has to pry your fingers off to redirect you. Stay flexible, stay surrendered, stay more committed to God's will than to your own way. It means check in with Him regularly. Not just God bless my plans, but God, are these still your plans for me? Have you closed doors I'm still trying to open? Have you opened doors I'm too focused on my agenda to notice? Am I heading in the right direction, or do you need to redirect me? It means practice gratitude for where you are, even if it's not where you plan to be. Thank God for the job you have, even if it's not your dream job yet. Thank Him for the season you're in, even if it's not the season you wanted. Thank Him for what He's teaching you right now, even if the lessons are hard. Gratitude in the unexpected keeps your heart soft and your eyes open to see God at work. It means trust His timing. Your plan might be good, but the timing might be wrong. God's not yet doesn't mean no forever. Sometimes He's just developing you, preparing you, positioning you for the right moment. Abraham received the promise at 75, but didn't see it fulfilled until 100. That's 25 years of waiting, of plans seeming delayed, of wondering if he'd heard God correctly. But God's timing was perfect. Not early, not late, exactly right. It means find peace in uncertainty. You don't need to have the next 10 years mapped out. You don't need to know exactly how everything will unfold. You just need to know the one who holds your future. You can have peace without having all the answers because you have relationship with the one who is the answer. And it means celebrate when God disrupts your plans. I know that sounds crazy. Celebrate? When my plan fell apart? Yes. Because if God disrupted it, that means He's protecting you from something or preparing you for something better. That means His plan is in motion. That means He loves you too much to let you settle for good when He has great in store. Let me tell you about some people whose plans God beautifully disrupted. Moses planned to be a prince of Egypt. God disrupted that plan and made him a deliverer of nations. David planned to be a shepherd. God disrupted that plan and made him a king. Esther probably planned to live a quiet life. God disrupted that plan and positioned her to save her entire people. Mary planned to be a simple wife in Nazareth. God disrupted that plan and chose her to be the mother of the Savior. The disciples planned to be fishermen and tax collectors. God disrupted those plans and made them world changers. Paul planned to persecute Christians. God disrupted that plan dramatically on the road to Damascus and made him the greatest missionary who ever lived. None of them saw it coming. None of them planned for what God actually had in store. And if they'd been so rigid in their original plans that they couldn't adapt to God's redirection, they would have missed their actual destinies. What if the plan falling apart isn't the tragedy? What if the tragedy would have been the plan working out and you missing what God actually had for you? What if that door closing wasn't rejection but redirection? What if that disappointment wasn't God saying no to you but God saying no for you? What if the detour is actually the main road and what you thought was the main road was actually a dead end? Here's the profound truth at the center of all of this. God's plan isn't primarily about what you do or what you achieve or where you end up. His plan is about who you become in the process. He cares more about your character than your career. He cares more about your heart than your accomplishments. He cares more about you becoming like Jesus than about you checking off all your goals. So when your plan is to build a successful business and God's plan includes a failure that teaches you humility, He's not against you. He's for you becoming who you need to be. When your plan is to avoid suffering and God's plan includes a painful season that produces perseverance and depth in you, He's not punishing you. He's growing you. When your plan is to have everything figured out by age 30 and God's plan has you still searching at 35, still questioning at 40, still discovering at 45, He's not behind schedule. He's developing in you a dependence on Him that a too easy path never could. So yes, make your plans, set your goals, dream your dreams, use the brain God gave you, work hard, be strategic, move forward with intention, but write those plans in pencil, not pen. Hold those goals with open hands, not clenched fists. Dream those dreams while staying surrendered to the dream giver. And when, not if, when, God disrupts your plans, don't despair. Don't assume you failed or heard wrong or missed your chance. Instead, get curious. Ask, God, what are you doing? What are you protecting me from? What are you leading me toward? How are you using this disruption for my good and your glory? Because here's the truth that will set you free. God's plan will always be better than yours. Always. It might not be easier. It might not be what you expected. It might not look like what you wanted, but it will be better because it comes from a Father who loves you infinitely, sees everything you can't see, knows everything you don't know, and is committed to your ultimate good. In closing, let me pray over you as you navigate the tension between your plans and God's plans. Father, thank you for being a God who has plans for us. Plans to prosper us and not to harm us. Plans to give us hope and a future. Thank you that your plans are always good, always perfect, always better than anything we could dream up on our own. Forgive us for the times we've gripped our plans so tightly that we've missed what you were doing. Forgive us for making our plans more important than your presence. Forgive us for building our identity on outcomes instead of on our relationship with you. Give us wisdom to plan well, courage to dream big, and humility to surrender it all to you. Help us hold our plans loosely and hold you tightly. Help us to trust you more than we trust our own understanding. Help us to acknowledge you in all our ways so you can direct our paths. When our plans fall apart, help us to trust that you're doing something better. When doors close, help us to look for the ones you're opening. When we're disappointed, help us to remember that your ways are higher than our ways and your thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Give us peace in uncertainty, faith in the waiting, and gratitude in the unexpected. Help us to celebrate your disruptions because they mean your better plan is in motion. And most of all, help us to want you more than we want our plans. Help us to seek your presence more than your provisions. Help us to love the giver more than the gifts. Thank you that when our plans make you laugh, it's not mockery but affection. Thank you that you delight in our dreams even when you have to redirect them. Thank you that you're a good Father who gives good gifts even when those gifts look different than what we asked for. We surrender our plans to you. We trust your plans for us. We rest in your perfect love and your perfect wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen. So go ahead, make your plans, dream your dreams, set your goals, work hard, be intentional. But remember, the best plan is to trust the planner. The best goal is to stay close to the one who orders your steps. The best dream is to wake up each day and say, your will, not mine. Your way, not mine. Your plan, not mine. And when God disrupts your plans, and He will, smile with Him, because He sees what you don't see. He knows what you don't know. And He loves you too much to let you settle for your good ideas when He has the best idea. Your plans might make God laugh, but His plans will make you rejoice. Trust Him.